Before we begin the story, let us know where you're watching from by leaving a comment below. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the story, everyone. A captain locked a man inside a doctor's office, thinking he was a playboy, but he was a millionaire doctor. The door to the doctor's office swung open with a loud bang, startling everyone in the waiting room out of their chairs. A woman in a blue military uniform stormed in like a whirlwind, her eyes blazing with fury as she locked the door behind her. "Hey, you!" Ava Martinez pointed her finger straight at the man in the white coat, who nearly dropped his stethoscope in shock. "You are going to tell me right now why you left my sister Emma at the altar like some disgusting coward." Doctor Ethan Lee, 30 years old, blinked several times, trying to make sense of what was happening. His glasses slipped down his nose as he stammered, "I'm sorry, but I think there's been some mistake." "Mistake?" Ava stepped forward like a tiger, forcing Ethan to back up until he hit the exam table. "Emma cried for 3 days, 3 whole days, you jerk. She spent all her savings on that wedding dress, and you just disappeared." Ethan raised his hands in defense, his voice higher than usual. "Ma'am, please, I swear I don't know any Emma. This has to be some misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" Ava yanked her phone from her pocket with military precision. "This is you, Lucas Lee. Don't even try to deny it." She shoved the screen in Ethan's face. He widened his eyes at the photo. The resemblance was shocking. Same face, same shaped eyes, even the same height. But it definitely wasn't him. I swear I'm not that person," Ethan stuttered, his heart racing. "My name is Ethan Lee. I'm a doctor here at Boston General Hospital. I've never left anyone at the altar." Ava studied his face with the sharp eye of a trained officer. She saw the genuine nervousness, but her anger was too strong to care. "Of course you deny it. That's what all playboys do." She placed herself between Ethan and the door. "You think you can play with women's feelings and just get away with it? Please." Ethan tried to step toward the door, but Ava blocked him like a human wall. "I have patients waiting. If we could just talk about this another time." "No." Ava crossed her arms, her muscles showing the results of military training. "You're not going anywhere until you give me a decent explanation." Ethan felt sweat running down his forehead. He'd never handled confrontation well, especially not with angry women who looked trained for combat. His shy nature made him want to sink into the floor. "Listen," he tried, using a firmer tone though his voice still shook. "I really don't know your sister. Maybe if you showed me more pictures." "More pictures?" Ava gave a bitter laugh. "You want more proof of your own face? What kind of psychopath are you?" Ethan saw the fire in her eyes and realized she was used to being in charge, to being obeyed. That uniform wasn't for show. She really was a soldier. "Look, Captain." He read the rank on her uniform. "Martinez, right? I understand why you're upset, but I swear on my medical license I've never seen your sister in my life." "Medical license?" Ava scoffed. "Men like you lie about everything, including your job. I bet you're not even a real doctor." That hit Ethan hard. He had worked for years to earn his degree, spent sleepless nights studying, and given up his social life to help people. For a moment, his shyness faded. "I am a doctor, graduated from Harvard, specialized in heart surgery. And I've worked at this hospital for 5 years. Ava noticed the change in his tone but was still too determined to back down. Outside, worried voices began to rise. Patients were knocking on the door. "Doctor Lee, is everything all right in there?" a nurse called from outside. Ethan took a deep breath, gathering the courage to say what he had been keeping to himself. His hands trembled slightly as he whispered, barely audible, "You don't understand. I have a twin brother, Lucas Lee." The silence that followed Ethan's words was so heavy Ava could hear her own heartbeat. She blinked several times, processing what he had just said. "Twin brother?" she repeated slowly, as if tasting the words. Ethan nodded nervously, adjusting the glasses that had slipped during the confrontation. "Lucas Lee is my twin brother. We were born 3 minutes apart. He's well. Let's just say he and I are very different." Ava felt the first flicker of doubt creeping into her rock-solid certainty. She looked more closely at Ethan's face, the genuinely confused expression, the defensive posture, the slight tremble in his hands. None of it matched the confident, charming man Emma had described. At that moment, Ava's phone rang loudly with a sharp ringtone. She glanced at the screen and saw Emma flashing. For a moment, she hesitated to answer. But concern for her sister took over. "Emma, what is it?" Her sister's excited voice on the other end made Ava go cold. "Ava, you won't believe it. Lucas showed up. He was on a work trip in Mexico, and his phone broke." He explained everything. "We're setting a new date for the wedding." Ava felt the blood drain from her face. Her eyes turned to Ethan, who was watching her expression shift from fury to rising horror. "Emma, where are you right now?" "I'm at his apartment." "Oh, Ava, I knew there was an explanation. He brought me the most beautiful gifts from Mexico." Ava ended the call with shaking hands. Silence returned to the office, but now it was a heavy, awkward silence. Ethan watched the change on her face and, despite everything, felt a flicker of compassion. "Your sister met my brother?" he asked gently. Ava couldn't find any words. All her military strength, all her absolute certainty, had collapsed in seconds. She, who had always taken pride in her discipline and precision, had just attacked an innocent man. She started but couldn't finish. Then something unexpected happened. Ethan's timid demeanor seemed to vanish, replaced by a calm strength Ava hadn't seen before. He stood up straighter, took off his glasses, and began cleaning them with slow, deliberate movements. When he spoke, his voice carried an authority that made Ava take a step back. "Since we're clearing up misunderstandings," Ethan said, "maybe it's time I clear up a few things about myself too." He walked over to his desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out a gold business card. With a steady hand, he offered it to Ava. "My name is Dr. Ethan Lee. Yes, I'm a Harvard-trained physician, but what you don't know is that I also own this institution." Ava took the card with hesitant fingers. She read it out loud. "Ethan Lee, President and CEO, Lee Medical Group." She looked at him, confused. "Lee Medical Group? Isn't that the largest private hospital network on the East Coast?" Ethan finished. 43 hospitals, 27 specialty clinics, and, yes, a few $1 billion in assets. Ava's knees felt weak. She had attacked, humiliated, and locked in an office a billionaire. But you're wearing an old lab coat. You work like a regular doctor. I've seen you treating patients." Ethan smiled for the first time since she'd barged into his office, but it was a sad smile. "Because this is what I love doing. My family built this medical empire, but I never wanted to just sit in a boardroom. I want to save lives, not just manage hospitals." He walked over to the window, watching the street below. "I work here under a partially hidden identity. My staff knows who I am, but we pretend I'm just another doctor. It's the only way I can live a normal life, to know people like me for who I am, not for what I own." Ava felt even smaller. She hadn't just gone after an innocent man, she'd gone after someone who spent his time and fortune helping others. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked, genuinely curious. Ethan turned to face her, and Ava saw something in his eyes she couldn't quite identify. "Because you stood up for your sister with a strength I admire, because you didn't hesitate to challenge someone you thought had hurt your family, and because," he paused, "because it's been a long time since anyone treated me like a regular person." Ethan's phone rang, cutting through the moment. He looked at the screen and visibly paled. "My mother," he whispered, as if announcing a natural disaster. Ava watched the transformation happen instantly. The confident man who had just revealed himself as the head of a medical empire shrank back into the nervous, quiet doctor. "Hi, Mom." Even without hearing the other end of the call, Ava could feel the intensity of the woman's voice just from Ethan's reaction. "Yes, Mom, I know. We agreed. No, I didn't forget. Of course, I'll be in the office tomorrow." He hung up and turned to Ava with genuine panic on his face. "My mother's coming to visit tomorrow. She thinks I only work in the administrative office. If she finds out I spend my days treating patients—" "What's going on?" Ava asked, her curiosity winning over her embarrassment. "She'll kill me," Ethan replied with a seriousness that made Ava realize he wasn't exaggerating. "She thinks manual work, even as a doctor, is beneath a Lee. Ava looked at the man in front of her, a billionaire, a brilliant doctor, completely terrified of his own mother, and despite everything, she found herself smiling. "Well, doctor." "Lee," she said, "looks like we both have a problem now." Ava couldn't sleep a wink that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Ethan's confused face when she had lashed out like a storm, guilt twisted in her stomach. She'd always prided herself on her military precision, and now she had completely failed. The next morning, she showed up at the hospital door with a coffee and a peace-offering sandwich. She found Ethan just coming out of surgery, his face tired but content. "Doctor." "Lee," she called out hesitantly. Ethan turned around, and when he saw her, his expression closed off slightly. Not angry, but guarded in a way that hurt Ava more than yelling ever could. "Captain Martinez," he greeted her formally. "I brought coffee, and I wanted to apologize." "Really?" She held out the cup like a peace offering. Ethan took the coffee, but his face stayed reserved. "Thank you. But no need to feel guilty. Mistakes happen." His polite coldness stung more than Ava had expected. She'd faced angry generals with more courage than she felt in that moment. "Can I ask you something?" she said, deciding to be direct as always. "Why do you work here if you have so much money? Aren't you just playing doctor?" The words came out harsher than she intended, and she saw Ethan stiffen. "Playing?" he repeated, his voice low but sharp. "I just spent 6 hours operating on a 12-year-old boy who got hit by a car. I saved his life. Does that sound like a game to you?" Ava felt her cheeks burn. "That's not what I meant." "Then what did you mean?" Ethan stepped closer, and for the first time, Ava saw fire in his eyes. "That because I have money, I can't have a calling? That just because I inherited a fortune, I shouldn't want to help people? Ava stammered, not used to being the one caught off guard. "It's just that I don't understand why someone in your position would choose to work so hard. And I don't understand." Ethan shot back. "How someone so afraid of being vulnerable can judge my choices." His words hit Ava like a punch. "I'm not afraid of anything." "No?" Ethan crossed his arms. "Then why do you strike first and ask questions later? Why do you prefer being tough instead of admitting when you're wrong?" The tension between them was thick. They were standing close now, so close that Ava could see the small scars on Ethan's hands, signs of years spent in surgery. She could feel the warmth from his body, see the determination in his eyes that she had completely underestimated. For a moment, something electric passed between them. Ethan's eyes dropped to Ava's lips, and her heart started pounding, not from anger this time. He leaned in slightly. "Dr. Lee." The nurse's voice broke the moment like a splash of cold water. "Your mother just arrived." The panic on Ethan's face made Ava instantly forget everything that had just happened. He turned pale and began pulling off his coat in a frenzy. "Where is she?" he asked nervously. "At the main reception. She said she's here for a surprise visit to her son's office," the nurse replied with a mischievous grin. Ethan looked at Ava in desperation. Would it be possible?" "What?" Ava asked, still trying to process what had almost happened between them. "Pretend to be my secretary, just for a few minutes, until I can get her out of here." Ava raised an eyebrow. "You want me to lie to your mother?" "Please," Ethan begged. And the vulnerability in his voice dissolved any resistance she might have had. Minutes later, Ava was behind a makeshift desk, trying to look professional as a perfectly groomed, elegant woman scanned the room with a sharp eye. "Mrs. Lee," Ava said with her best fake smile. "It's a pleasure to meet you." Ethan's mother studied her carefully. She was a small woman, but her presence filled the entire space. She wore expensive clothes and understated jewelry, but her eyes were as sharp as blades. "You must be new here, Mrs." Lee said in a tone that wasn't quite a question. "I don't recall seeing you at any company meetings." "Yes, ma'am. I started recently." Ava lied, hoping her lack of secretarial skills wasn't too obvious. "Where's my son? Ethan should be in his office at this time. He's in an important meeting with investors." "Mrs." Lee nodded approvingly. "Good. I hope you're focusing on business and not wasting time with other things." Just then, Ethan walked in, wearing a perfectly tailored suit, looking completely transformed. Eva barely recognized him. Where was the shy doctor in his white coat? "Mom," he said, kissing her on the cheek. "What a wonderful surprise." "Ethan, dear, we need to talk about your future at the company and about that lovely young woman I want you to meet, the Morrison girl." Eva saw Ethan swallow hard, but he kept smiling. "Of course, Mom, let's go to my office." As they walked away, Eva heard Mrs. Lee say, "It's time for you to take on your real responsibilities, Ethan. Marry into a good family, focus on the business. Enough of this phase of wanting to help people. You have an empire to run." Eva felt a strange ache in her chest. She had judged Ethan for hiding his wealth, but now she understood the weight he carried, the pressure from a family that didn't understand his dreams. Her phone rang, pulling her out of her thoughts. It was Emma. "Eva, I need to tell you something important about Lucas." Her sister's voice sounded different, worried. Eva felt a chill in her stomach. "What happened, Emma?" I'm pregnant, Eva, and Lucas, he disappeared again when I told him." Eva closed her eyes, feeling that familiar anger rise, but this time it wasn't aimed at Ethan. It was her twin brother who truly deserved her fury. "Where are you?" she asked, already getting up. "At home, Eva. I don't know what to do." He said he needed to think and left, just like the first time. Eva looked in the direction Ethan had gone with his mother. Two men, opposite sides of the same coin. One took on too much responsibility. The other ran from it. Eva ran through the streets of Boston like never before. Not even during the toughest military training had she felt this kind of urgency burning in her chest. Emma was pregnant and alone, and Eva felt responsible for not protecting her better. When she got to the small apartment they shared, she found Emma curled up on the couch, eyes red from crying. The sight broke Eva's heart. "Hey, sweetie," she said gently, sitting next to her and pulling her into a hug. "Tell me everything." Emma sobbed into Eva's shoulder. "I told him last night. We were having dinner. I was so happy, thinking he'd be excited." She paused to breathe. "But when I mentioned the baby, his face completely changed. He said he wasn't ready, that he needed to think, and walked out. He never came back." Eva felt the anger rise again, but forced herself to stay calm for her sister. "How far along are you?" 2 months. "I've known for a few weeks, but I wanted to be sure before telling him." Eva held her sister's hands. "Emma, you're not alone. I'm here, and I always will be. But, Eva, what if he doesn't come back? What if I have to raise this baby on my own? I haven't even finished college yet." Before Eva could answer, her phone rang. It was a number she didn't recognize. "Hello? Eva. It's Ethan. Ethan Lee." His voice sounded tense, almost like a whisper. "Ethan, how did you get my number? I got it from the nurse. Listen, I need help. My mother's been at the hospital for 2 hours, and she's starting to ask questions about why she can't find me in the executive office." Eva looked at Emma, who had stopped crying and was listening with curiosity. "Ethan, this really isn't a good time." "My sister is please," he interrupted, and she could hear the desperation in his voice. "She's threatening to do a full tour of the hospital. If she finds out I work as a regular doctor," Eva sighed. Despite everything, she felt a strange urge to help him. "All right, but only for a few minutes." Emma grabbed her arm. "Eva, who's this Ethan? It's complicated. Stay here. I'll be back soon." 20 minutes later, Eva was back at the hospital, pretending to be a secretary again in the same administrative office. "Mrs. Lee looked even more elegant and intimidating than she had that morning. "So, Mrs. Lee left the question hanging. "Eva Martinez," she answered, trying to sound professional. "Martinez. Interesting. Where are you from?" "Born and raised here in Boston, ma'am." "Military family." "Mrs. Lee's eyes lit up with interest. "Military? What branch?" "Air Force. I used to be a pilot." "A pilote?" Mrs. Lee seemed genuinely impressed. "How fascinating. A woman in the military aviation field. Your parents must be very proud." "Avafel Tatwinje." "My dad, well, he always wanted a son. I kind of had to prove I was just as capable as any soldier." "Ah, Mrs. Lee nodded in understanding. I completely understand. I had to fight to be respected in the business world too. It's hard for us women, isn't it? For a moment, Ava saw past the intimidating exterior and glimpsed a woman who had fought her own battles. Just then, Ethan walked into the office, still dressed like an executive. Ava noticed how he changed completely in his mother's presence, more stiff, less natural. Mom, how's the visit going? Very well, dear. Your secretary is lovely. A military pilot. Can you imagine? Ethan looked at Ava, surprised. She gave a subtle shrug. Ethan, Mrs. Lee continued. We need to talk about your future. You're already 30. It's time to take full control of the company and think about starting a family. Ava saw Ethan swallow hard. Mom, I've already scheduled a dinner so you can get to know Sarah Morrison better. She has a business degree from Harvard, comes from a respectable family. She'd be perfect for you. Mom, I don't want an arranged marriage. It's not arranged, dear. It's strategic. You need a wife who understands the business world, someone who can support you socially. Ava watched the tension building in Ethan's face. It was like watching someone slowly being smothered. And about your work, Mrs. Lee went on. I hope you're focusing on executive decisions and not getting distracted by less important activities. Less important activities? Ethan asked, his voice slightly tense. Well, your father also had that habit of wanting to help people, but he learned that our role is to run the company, not to do hands-on work. Ava saw something break in Ethan's expression, a light going out. Of course, Mom, I understand. Just then, the phone on the desk rang. It was the hospital's direct line. Ava instinctively picked it up. Dr. Lee's office. Ava, this is the head nurse. We need Dr. Lee urgently. There's a patient in cardiac arrest in the ICU. Ava looked at Ethan, who had turned pale. He looked at his mother, then at Ava, clearly torn. Tell them he's in a meeting, Mrs. Lee muttered. Medical emergencies aren't his responsibility. But Ava saw something in Ethan's eyes, the same fire she'd seen when he spoke about his calling. She made a decision. He's on his way down, she said into the phone. Ethan looked at her in shock. Mrs. Lee frowned. Down where? His mother asked. Ava stood up, firm. Mrs. Lee, your son is the best doctor I've ever met. He saves lives every day. That's not hands-on work, it's a gift. Miss Martinez, I don't think you understand. I understand perfectly, Ava interrupted, her courage rising. I understand that you have an extraordinary son who could be rich without lifting a finger, but instead chooses to work 18-hour days saving people. That's not something to be ashamed of. It's something to be proud of. The silence in the office was deafening. Ethan looked at Ava with an expression she couldn't quite read. Ethan, Mrs. Lee said slowly, do you really work as a doctor? Ethan took a deep breath. Yes, Mom, I do. And I love my work. But the company? The company is running just fine. I have an excellent executive team, but I need to be a doctor. It's who I am. Mrs. Lee looked from her son to Ava, trying to take it all in. And you, she said to Ava, you're not really a secretary, are you? No. Ma'am. I'm an Air Force pilot, and I'm here because I admire your son and wanted to support him. Just then, Ava's cell phone rang. It was Emma. Ava, where are you? I need you here. Ava looked at Ethan, who nodded for her to go. Go, he said softly. Your sister needs you. But your mother. We'll talk, like we should have a long time ago. Ava paused at the door. Ethan, what you said about me being afraid to be vulnerable, you were right. But you showed me that sometimes it's worth fighting for the people we love. She left before he could answer, leaving mother and son alone to face years of unspoken truths. When she got home, she found Emma crying again. But this time she wasn't alone. There was a man in the apartment, identical to Ethan, but with a completely different presence. Ava, Emma said through tears. Lucas is back. The man turned around, and Ava saw Ethan's face, but with a look she'd never seen on the doctor, a mix of arrogance and unease. You must be the soldier sister, Lucas said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Emma has told me a lot about you. Ava studied the man in front of her. Same face, same height. But none of Ethan's warmth. This was the man who had hurt her sister twice. You must be the coward who runs when things get serious. Ava shot back, feeling her protective instincts kicking in. Lucas Lee laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. It was the kind of laugh people use when they're trying to feel superior. Soldiers, huh? Just like my twin brother, always thinking he's better than everyone else. Emma stood up from the couch, wiping her tears. Lucas, you promised we'd talk about the baby. And we will, he said. But Ava noticed how he avoided meeting Emma's eyes. I just need some time to sort things out. Time, Ava burst out. You've already had 2 months. Emma is pregnant and scared, and you want more time. Lucas turned to her, clearly annoyed. Listen, soldier girl, this is between me and Emma. It's none of your business. It is my business. Ava stepped forward, her military training kicking in. Emma is my sister, and if you hurt her again, you'll have to deal with me. Ava, please, Emma stepped in between them. Let him explain. Lucas ran a hand through his hair, looking genuinely troubled. Emma, you don't get it. I'm not like my brother. I'm not good with responsibilities. Every time I try to do the right thing, I mess it all up. Then learn, Ava snapped. She's not asking for perfection, just for you to show up. You don't understand, Lucas shouted. And for the first time, Ava saw real vulnerability behind the arrogance. My whole life, I've been compared to Ethan. He's always been the perfect son, the brilliant doctor, the one who never lets anyone down. I'm the failure in the family. Ava looked at his face so much like Ethan's, yet carrying a different kind of weight. Where Ethan carried heavy expectations, Lucas carried the weight of never meeting them. That's no excuse for walking out on Emma, Ava said, though her voice was less harsh now. I know, Lucas murmured. I know I'm a coward. But what if I mess up the baby's life too? What if I'm a terrible father? Emma stepped closer, gently touching his face. Lucas, I don't need you to be perfect. I just need you to try. Just then, Ava's phone rang. It was Ethan. Ava, are you okay? His voice sounded concerned, and Ava felt a warmth spread through her chest. I'm okay. How did it go with your mother? Complicated, but eye-opening. Listen, can I see you? I need to talk. Ava looked over at Emma and Lucas, who were now sitting together on the couch, talking quietly. I can't leave right now. My sister needs me. Is it about Lucas? Did he show up? He did. They're talking now. There was a pause. Ava, can I come over? Maybe I can help. Lucas and I, well, we're complicated, but he's still my brother. Ava hesitated. Having both brothers in the same room could be explosive. Okay, but if you're coming to judge him, I'm not. He promise. 20 minutes later, Ethan was at the door. Ava was surprised to see him still in his business suit, with his white coat over it, like it was his armor. Hi, he said softly. Hey, Ava replied, feeling oddly shy. When Ethan walked into the room, Lucas immediately stood up. The tension between them was obvious. Ethan, Lucas said, his voice guarded. Lucas, Ethan replied without hostility. Emma glanced between the two identical men and whispered to Ava, It's so strange seeing them together. Lucas, Ethan began. Ava told me what's going on. Are you okay? The question caught Lucas off guard. He clearly expected judgment, not concern. Since when do you care about how I'm doing? Lucas replied, though with less bite. I've always cared, Ethan said calmly. You're the one who never wanted my help. Your help? Lucas laughed bitterly. Ethan, every time you help me, it just reminds everyone how much of a failure I am compared to you. Ava saw Ethan flinch, like he'd been hit. Lucas, I never wanted you to feel that way. No? Then how should I feel? You're a Harvard-trained doctor, running a hospital empire, saving lives every day. I can't even keep a job for 6 months. And you think my life is easy? Ethan snapped, surprising everyone. You think it's easy being perfect all the time? Never being allowed to fail? Never just being human? Lucas blinked, clearly not expecting that response. Every time I make a mistake, Ethan went on, it's not just a mistake. It's the mistake of the perfect son. Every time I let someone down, it's worse because I should have known better. Ava looked at both brothers and saw something she hadn't noticed before. They weren't opposites. They were two sides of the same coin, both carrying the weight of family expectations, just in different ways. You two are idiots, she suddenly said. Everyone turned to look at her. You two spent your whole lives competing instead of supporting each other. Ethan, you carry guilt for being successful. Lucas, you carry anger for not being like your brother. But you never really tried to know each other. Emma nodded firmly. Ava's right. You're brothers. You should be on the same side. Lucas looked at Ethan, then at Emma. I don't know how to be a good father. I don't know how to be responsible. No one is born knowing, Ethan said gently. But you can learn. And you don't have to do it alone. Would you help me? Lucas asked, his voice quiet. Of course. We're brothers. Ava felt her eyes fill with tears. There was something beautiful about seeing two people who loved each other finally understand one another. But the moment was interrupted by Ethan's phone ringing urgently. Dr. Lee, we've got an emergency. Plane crash at Logan Airport. Multiple victims coming in. We need you now. Ethan turned pale. How many victims? 15 confirmed. More still being rescued. It's serious, doctor. Ethan hung up and looked at Ava. I have to go. Of course, she said. But something in his face worried her. Ava, he hesitated at the door. Could you, if it's not too much to ask, what is it? Would you come with me? I know it's a strange request, but I do better when you're around. Ava's heart skipped a beat. Ethan, I'm not a doctor. I can't help with the patients. That's not it. It's just you give me strength. You remind me why I do this. Ava looked at Emma, who nodded encouragingly. Go, Ava. Lucas and I will be fine. We still have a lot to talk about. Lucas nodded. And, Ava, thank you for taking care of her when I was too much of a coward to do it. Ava nodded and followed Ethan out of the apartment. They ran to his car in silence. But when they got to the hospital, Ethan paused before going in. Ava, there's something I need to tell you. What is it? Earlier, when you defended my work to my mother, no one's ever done that for me before. Ava felt her cheeks warm. Ethan. And when you said I give you strength, it goes both ways. You give me strength too. They looked at each other for a moment that felt like it lasted forever. There was something growing between them, something neither of them could name yet. Dr. Lee, a nurse shouted from the entrance. We need you. The moment broke, but Ethan quickly held Ava's hand. Stay? He asked. Yes, she replied, and together they ran to face the emergency waiting for them. But Ava didn't know that in the next few hours, it wouldn't be just the crash victims who would need saving. Her own military career was about to be put at risk in a way she never imagined. The hospital was in total chaos. Ambulances arrived one after the other, sirens cutting through the Boston night like cries of despair. Ava followed Ethan through the hallways, amazed at his transformation. The shy man had completely disappeared, replaced by a focused and determined professional. Dr. Lee, a nurse, ran up to them. We have 15 confirmed victims, 3 in critical condition, 2 children among the injured. Ethan nodded, already putting on gloves and a mask. Where are the most serious cases? Emergency rooms 1 and 2. One of the children needs immediate heart surgery. Ava saw Ethan take a deep breath. I'll operate. Prep the oar. Ethan. Ava touched his arm before he ran off. You can do this. He looked at her, and for a moment, she saw the vulnerable man behind the medical mask. Stay close. I'm not going anywhere. Ava spent the next 4 hours watching Ethan work. It was like watching a perfect dance, every move precise, every decision exact. He saved the child who needed heart surgery, operated on a man with internal injuries, and still found time to comfort desperate families. When he finally finished, it was past 3 o'clock a.m. He stepped out of the last operating room, exhausted but smiling. We did it, he told Ava. Everyone's going to make it. You're amazing, Ava said, and saw Ethan blush, even through his exhaustion. But the moment was broken by a stern voice. Captain Martinez. Ava turned and saw Colonel Harris, her direct superior, walking toward her with a serious look. Colonel, what are you doing here? I came to check on the crash victims. It was a military plane, Captain, and I have bad news about your situation. Ava's stomach sank. What situation? The final report on the incident from 2 weeks ago is complete. You're being held responsible for the protocol error that nearly caused a collision. But, Colonel, I followed all the procedures. The facts say otherwise, Captain. Your flight clearance has been suspended indefinitely. You have 48 hours to report to the base for a disciplinary hearing. Ava felt the world spin around her. She had dedicated her entire life to military aviation. It was all she knew how to do. Everything she was. Colonel, please, there must be some mistake. There is no mistake, Captain, and I suggest you use these 48 hours to reflect on your actions. The colonel walked away, leaving Ava standing in the hospital hallway, feeling like she had just been punched in the stomach. Ethan approached, looking concerned. Ava, what happened? I lost my clearance, she whispered, still in disbelief. They're blaming me for an accident that wasn't my fault. What do you mean? Ava leaned against the wall, her legs suddenly weak. 2 weeks ago, there was a near miss between 2 military planes. I was in the control tower that day. Someone gave a wrong order, but they're blaming me. Ethan stepped closer. Are you sure it wasn't you? Ava looked at him, hurt. You think I made the mistake too? No, Ethan said quickly. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. It's just, well, there's always a reason behind these investigations. There is, Ava said bitterly. The reason is they need someone to blame, and a female pilot is an easy target. Ethan went quiet, clearly not sure what to say. Forget it, Ava said, stepping away. You wouldn't understand. You've never had to prove you deserve your place. Ava, wait, but she was already walking toward the hospital exit. She needed air. She needed to think. Her entire career, everything she had fought for, was falling apart. Outside the hospital, Ava sat on the steps and finally let the tears fall. She hadn't cried since she was a child, but now she couldn't stop. Ava. She looked up and saw Ethan approaching with 2 cups of coffee. Thought you might need this, he said, handing her one. Thanks, she murmured, taking the cup but avoiding his eyes. Ethan sat beside her on the steps. Do you want to talk about what really happened? Ava sighed. I was working a double shift that day. The other controller called out sick at the last minute. It was 2 training planes with rookie pilots. One of them flew into the wrong airspace, and I gave the right coordinates to correct it. But someone I don't know who gave a conflicting order on the secondary radio. And they're blaming you? They say I should have double-checked all communication channels, that it was negligence on my part. Ava gave a humorless laugh. 10 years of perfect service, and one confusing situation ruins everything. Ethan was quiet for a moment. What if I told you I could help find out what really happened? Ava looked at him skeptically. How? I have contacts. People who owe favors to my family. I can ask a few cat questions. Ethan, you don't have to. I want to. He cut in. You stood up for my right to choose my career. Let me stand up for yours. Ava felt a warmth spread in her chest. Why would you do that for me? Ethan hesitated, looking at his hands. Because you're the first person who sees me for who I really am, not the rich heir, not the perfect son, not the famous doctor. Just Ethan. They looked at each other, and Ava felt that electric tension again. Ethan leaned in slightly. Dr. Lee, the nurse's voice interrupted them again. Emergency. We have a patient needing urgent transport to New York. Heart transplant, 6-hour window. Ethan jumped up from the steps. What's the issue? Heavy storm coming. All commercial flights have been canceled. We need a pilot willing to fly in these conditions. Ava and Ethan looked at each other at the same time. No, Ethan said immediately. You don't have your license anymore. For military flights, Ava corrected. I can still fly civilian aircraft in medical emergencies. Ava, it's dangerous. The storm. This is a human life, Ethan, and didn't you say you work better when I'm around? Well, I work better when I can save lives. Let me help you save this one. Ethan studied her for a long moment. Are you sure? Completely. An hour later, Ava was in the cockpit of a small medical aircraft, checking the instruments as the rain started to hit the windshield. Ethan was behind her, monitoring the patient, a 50-year-old man in an induced coma, kept alive by machines. Ready? Ethan asked, his voice tense. Born ready, Ava replied. Starting the engines. Takeoff was smooth, but as they flew toward New York, the storm grew stronger. The plane shook violently, and Ava had to use all her experience to keep it steady. How's the patient? She shouted over the storm. Stable, but we need to get him to the hospital within 3 hours, or it'll be too late. A strong gust of wind suddenly made the plane drop. Ava heard Ethan hit the side of the medical cabin. Ethan, are you okay? I'm fine. Keep flying. Ava gripped the controls tightly. This was the kind of storm even experienced pilots tried to avoid, but a life was on the line, and Ethan was counting on her. Ava. Ethan's voice came through. Calmer now. Can I tell you something right now? I need to say it in case we don't. Well, in case something happens. Ava's heart sped up, but she kept her eyes on the instruments. Go ahead. I was never good enough for my mother. No matter what I do, I always feel like I'm letting someone down. But when I'm with you, for the first time in my life, I feel like I can just be myself. Ava felt her eyes fill with tears, though she didn't know if it was emotion or the harsh wind. Ethan, you're making me cry, and I need to see the instruments. She heard him laugh, even in the middle of the storm. Sorry. It's just that, Ava, I think I'm falling in love with you. His words hit Ava like lightning. She almost lost control of the plane. You what? I'm in love with you, and if we make it through this, I want a chance to prove I deserve you. Ava saw New York's lights break through the clouds. 15 minutes to landing, Ethan. Ask me again when we're on the ground. Why? Because my answer might distract you from the patient. She heard him laugh again. And somehow, even in the most dangerous storm of her career, Ava had never felt so safe. Ava landed the plane in New York with skill. Even as the storm howled around them, her hands were slightly shaking as she shut off the engines. But not from fear, pure adrenaline. They had made it. The patient was on time. Incredible, Ethan whispered behind her, watching her shut down the instruments with military precision. You are absolutely incredible. Ava turned in the pilot seat, finally letting a smile cross her face. Ask me again. What? What you said during the flight. Ask me again. Ethan swallowed hard, suddenly nervous again. Ava Martinez, I'm completely in love with you, and I want to know if you might feel something similar for me. Ava got out of her seat and walked over to him, ignoring the noise of the medical team rushing to take the patient. Without warning, she pulled Ethan close and kissed him. The kiss was intense, filled with all the emotion they'd been holding back since they met. Ethan responded right away, his hands on Ava's face as she leaned into him. That's my answer, Ava whispered against his lips when they paused to breathe. Doctor. Lee, we need to move the patient now. The paramedic's urgent voice pulled them apart. Ethan stepped back from Ava, reluctant. Can we finish this later? Count on it, she said, watching him run to help with the transfer. 3 hours later, they were back in Boston. The transplant had been a success, and Ethan was elated. Ava had never seen him so animated and talkative. You saved a life today, he said as they walked through the hospital parking lot. If you hadn't had the courage to fly through that storm, we saved a life, Ava corrected him. We make a good team. Ethan stopped walking and pulled her into a hug right there in the lot. Ava, the flash of a camera cut him off. They quickly separated and saw a man with a professional camera taking pictures near the hospital's landing pad. Hey, Ethan shouted. What are you doing? The photographer smiled unpleasantly. Getting the photo of the year, Dr. Lee, or should I say, billionaire, Ethan Lee. I felt her blood run cold. Ethan, who is this guy? Tabloid journalist from the Boston Buzz, Ethan replied, looking defeated. They love following my family. The photographer kept snapping pictures. Heir to the Lee. Fortune. In a secret romance with a military pilot. This will be tomorrow's headline. Don't publish that, Ethan said, trying to stay calm. I'll pay whatever you want. Oh no, Doctor. Lee, this story is worth more than any bribe. The man packed up his camera and ran off. Ava looked at Ethan, whose face had turned pale. Ethan, what does this mean? It means, he said heavily, that our private life will be on the front page of every Boston paper tomorrow morning. And she was right. Ava woke up to her phone, ringing non-stop. When she finally answered, it was Emma, sounding frantic. Ava, did you see the newspaper? You're on the front page. Ava rushed to buy the Boston Buzz at the corner newsstand. The headline screamed in bold letters, Secret Romance, Billionaire Heir and Military Pilot in Hot Affair. The photo showed her and Ethan kissing on the hospital helipad, with a caption that read, Ethan Lee, heir to the Lee Medical Group fortune, caught in an intimate moment with Air Force Captain Ava Martinez. Ava's phone rang again. It was Ethan. Ava, did you see it? I did. Ethan. This is terrible. It gets worse. My mom just called. She's furious because of our relationship, because she found out I've been working as a doctor. I found out about you, found out I've been lying to her for years. Ava felt a knot of guilt in her stomach. Ethan, I'm so sorry. If I hadn't, it's not your fault. He cut her off. It was only a matter of time before the truth came out. What did your mother say? There was a long pause. That I'm out of the company. That if I choose to work as a regular doctor and date unsuitable people, I can do it without the family's money. Ava felt like she had been punched in the gut. Ethan, no. You can't lose everything because of me. Ava, you don't understand. I don't want the money if it comes with those conditions. But before Ava could reply, her phone rang again. It was Colonel Harris. Captain Martinez, you need to report to base immediately. Colonel, I can explain. No explanation needed, Captain. Your photo is in every paper in town. A military pilot in a public relationship with a billionaire civilian raises national security concerns. Ava felt the world spinning. Security concerns? Report to my office in 1 hour. Captain, and bring your uniform. You may need to turn it in. The call ended. Ava stared at her phone, feeling her military career falling apart completely. An hour later, she was in Colonel Harris's office, feeling smaller than ever in the uniform she had worn with pride for 10 years. Captain Martinez, the colonel began, this situation is unacceptable. Colonel, my personal life doesn't interfere with my work. Doesn't interfere? You're dating a man with access to military medical information, government contracts, and international connections. That's a security risk. Ethan never had access to any military information through me. Also, the colonel continued, ignoring her words, you flew last night without official authorization. It was a medical emergency. It was a breach of protocol, combined with the previous incident and now this public exposure. The colonel paused. I'm recommending your dishonorable discharge from the Air Force. Ava felt her knees go weak. A dishonorable discharge meant losing all benefits, all reputation, everything. Colonel, please, the Air Force is my life. You should have thought of that before getting involved with unsuitable people. Ava left the military base 2 hours later, carrying a box of her personal belongings. 10 years of military service had ended in a single morning. When she got home, she found Ethan waiting at the building entrance. He looked just as devastated. Ava, how did it go? I was fired, dishonorably discharged. She couldn't even look at him. And you? Disinherited? Officially removed from all positions at the company. My mother said, if I want to be a doctor, I can, but not with a cent of the family's money. They sat on the steps of the building, two people who had lost everything in a single day. Ethan, Ava finally said, this can't go on. What do you mean? Look at us. You lost your inheritance. I lost my career. Maybe we shouldn't be together. Ethan turned to her, shocked. Ava, you can't be serious. I am. We've known each other for a week. Is it worth destroying our lives over this? It is, Ethan said firmly. Ava, for the first time in my life, I'm truly happy. I don't care about the money. I don't care about my family's approval. I care about you. Ava felt the tears start to fall. Ethan, you don't understand. Without my military career, I'm nothing. It's all I know how to do. You're so much more than your career, Ethan said, taking her hands. You're brave, smart, loyal, strong. Stop, Ava interrupted, standing up. Stop trying to comfort me. The truth is, we both lost everything, and now we're clinging to each other like that's going to fix it. Ethan stood up too. Ava, you're scared. I get that. But don't let fear destroy what we have. What do we have? Ava laughed bitterly. Ethan, we've known each other for a week and shared 2 kisses. That's not enough to throw your life away. It is for me, Ethan said simply. Ava looked at him. The man who had walked away from billions for her, who had risked everything to be by her side, and felt her heart breaking. I can't, Ethan. I can't be the reason your life falls apart. You're not ruining anything. You're giving me a chance to really live. But Ava was already climbing the stairs to the building. We should take a break, Ethan, until things settle down. Ava, don't do this. She stopped at the door but didn't turn around. Thank you for everything, Ethan, truly. But right now, I need to figure out who I am without the uniform, and you need to figure out who you are without your family's money. Ava stepped inside, leaving Ethan alone on the steps. On the other side of the door, she leaned against it and finally let herself cry. Outside, Ethan stood still for a long time, staring at the closed door. When he finally walked away, his face showed quiet determination. He had lost Ava for now, but he wasn't giving up. Not ever. 3 weeks had passed since Ava had closed the door on Ethan, 3 of the hardest weeks of her life. Without her military career and without him, she felt lost in a city that suddenly felt strange and cold. Ava was working night shifts at a small diner in downtown Boston, waiting tables to pay the rent. Her hands, once used to piloting military planes, now carried plates of food and wiped down messy tables. Table 6 wants more coffee, the cook shouted, and Ava sighed, grabbing the thermal carafe. As she turned to head to the table, she almost spilled the coffee. Ethan was sitting alone at table 6, with dark circles under his eyes and wrinkled clothes. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Ethan, Ava whispered, what are you doing here? Having coffee, he said simply, and trying to see you. It's been 3 weeks. Ava looked around nervously. The restaurant manager was watching from the kitchen. You can't be here, she said quietly. I need to work. Then work. I just want some coffee. Ava filled his cup with trembling hands. How did you find me? Emma told me where you're working. Ethan took a sip and made a face. This coffee is awful. It's what we've got. Ava turned to leave, but Ethan gently grabbed her wrist. Ava, please, just 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. I can't, the manager shouted from the kitchen. Stop chatting with customers and get back to work. Ava pulled her hand from Ethan's and hurried off, but all night long, she could feel his eyes on her. He stayed until closing, drinking terrible coffee and leaving big tips Ava knew she couldn't accept. When her shift finally ended at 2 o'clock a.m., Ethan was still waiting outside. Go home, Ethan, Ava said, exhausted. There's nothing left to say. There is. Emma's in the hospital. Ava stopped cold. What? What happened? Preterm labor. She's only 7 months along. Ava's blood ran cold. Is she okay? The baby? She needs an emergency C-section right now. But Ethan hesitated. But what? The doctor on duty doesn't have enough experience with premature births, and Ethan ran a hand through his hair. I was suspended from the hospital. Suspended? Why? For performing surgery without permission 3 weeks ago. Remember when I saved your sister the first time Lucas disappeared? Ava felt the world tilt. Ethan, no. You lost your job because of me? That doesn't matter now. What matters is Emma. She's asking for you. And the baby Ava, if I don't operate, They could both die. Ava didn't hesitate. Then you're going to operate. I can't. I'm suspended. If I get caught, I lose my medical license forever. And if you don't, my sister and my nephew die. Ava looked him straight in the eyes. Ethan, you're the best doctor I know. Emma trusts you. I trust you. Ethan studied her for a long moment. If I do this, there's no going back. My medical career will be over. And if you don't, 2 lives will be gone. It's your choice. 20 minutes later, Ava was running through the hospital corridors beside Ethan. They came in through the emergency entrance, avoiding the main lobby where Ethan might be recognized. Emma was in the delivery room, pale and terrified. Lucas was holding her hand, looking even more scared than she was. Ava! Emma cried out when she saw her. You came? Of course I did. Silly. Ava kissed her sister's forehead. How are you feeling? Scared, Emma admitted. It's too early, Ava. What if something goes wrong? Ava turned to look at Ethan, who was already checking the medical monitors. Nothing's going to go wrong, Ava said firmly. You have the best doctor in the world right here. But the doctor said he's not allowed to, Emma. Ethan interrupted gently. Do you want me to take care of you and the baby? More than anything? Then that's what I'm going to do. Ethan turned to Ava. You need to go. If they find out you brought me here, I'm not going anywhere, Ava said. My sister needs me. The surgery lasted 2.5 hours. Ava stayed by Emma's side the entire time, holding her hand and whispering words of comfort. Lucas stood on the other side, pale but determined not to leave. Ethan worked with his usual precision, but Ava could see the tension in his shoulders. A nurse who recognized him tried to protest, but Ethan simply said, You can report me later. Right now, help me save these 2 lives. When the baby's cry finally echoed through the room, Ava felt tears run down her face. It's a boy, Ethan announced, holding the tiny but healthy newborn. And he's perfect. Emma cried with joy, and Lucas kissed her forehead over and over. Thank you, Emma whispered to Ethan. Thank you for saving my son. Ethan smiled, but Ava saw the sadness in his eyes. They both knew consequences were coming, and they came faster than expected. As Ethan was finishing Emma's stitches, the hospital administrator walked into the room with 2 security guards. Dr. Ethan Lee, the administrator said formally, you're under arrest for practicing medicine without a license. Ava stood up immediately. He just saved 2 lives. And broke an official suspension. Dr. Lee, I need you to come with us. Ethan calmly removed his surgical gloves. Can I at least say goodbye to the patient? The administrator hesitated, then nodded. Ethan stepped closer to Emma. You and the baby will be fine. Follow all the medical instructions and get plenty of rest. Ethan, Emma held his hand. Thank you. You risked everything for us. It was worth it, he said simply. As Ethan turned to leave with the guards, Ava stopped him. Ethan, wait. He turned to her, and Ava saw all the love and all the pain in his eyes. She started but couldn't find the words. I know, Ethan said softly. Take care of Emma. And take care of yourself, too. Ava watched them lead Ethan away, feeling her heart completely break. She had spent the last 3 weeks trying to convince herself she didn't love him, but seeing him give up his medical career for her family had shattered all her defenses. Ava, Emma called weakly from the bed. Are you okay? Ava turned to her sister, trying to smile. I'm fine. How are you feeling? Tired but happy. Emma looked at the baby in Lucas's arms. Ava, that man really loves you. I know. Then why aren't you going after him? Ava sat in the chair beside the bed. Because he lost everything because of me. Emma, the inheritance, his job, and now his medical license. I ruined his life. Or, Emma said gently, you gave him the chance to find out who he really is. Lucas, who had been quiet until then, finally spoke up. Ava, can I say something? Of course. My brother spent his whole life trying to please everyone. I've never seen him so free as he's been these last few weeks, even without money, even with all the problems. What do you mean, free? Free to be who he really is. Free to choose what truly matters. Lucas looked down at the baby in his arms. You taught me that running away from problems doesn't fix anything. Maybe it's time for you to learn the same lesson." Ava looked at her newborn nephew, so small yet already breathing strong and steady, a new life that Ethan had helped bring into the world, knowing full well the price he'd pay. "Emma," she said finally, "are you okay here with Lucas?" "Why? Where are you going?" Ava stood, feeling that old sense of purpose rising in her chest. "I'm going after the man I love, and I'm going to fight for him the same way he fought for us." Emma smiled. "Now that's the Ava I know." Ava kissed her sister and her nephew, waved to Lucas, and ran out of the hospital. She had a medical hearing to attend and a man to fight for. For the first time in weeks, she felt like the brave military pilot she had always been. And this time, the mission was to save the heart that had saved hers. The medical board hearing was scheduled for 9 o'clock, a 1 m. at the Massachusetts Medical Association headquarters. Ava arrived an hour early, still wearing her restaurant uniform, but with a determination she hadn't felt in weeks. The building was imposing, all marble and glass, as intimidating as a courtroom. Ava took a deep breath and walked in, her footsteps echoing through the empty lobby. "May I help you?" asked the receptionist, glancing curiously at her waitress outfit. "I'm here for Dr. Ethan Lee's hearing," Ava said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. "The hearing is closed, only for board members and the accused." "I'm a witness," Ava lied boldly. "A defense witness." The receptionist checked the list. "I don't see your name here." "Ava Martinez, Captain, U.S. Air Force," Ava said, using her former rank with firm authority. "I was called in at the last minute." Something in her tone must have convinced the receptionist, because she pointed down the hallway. "Room 205, second floor." Ava climbed the stairs with her heart pounding. She had no idea what she was going to say, but she knew she couldn't let Ethan face this alone. When she got to the room, the hearing was already underway. Ethan was seated at a table in the center of the room, wearing a plain suit with no lawyer. Surrounding him were 5 doctors in expensive suits, watching him like judges. "Dr. Lee," said the board chairman, a gray-haired man with a stern expression, "do you admit to performing surgery while under official suspension?" "I do," Ethan replied calmly. "Do you understand that this is a serious violation of medical ethics?" "I understand." Eva felt anger rising. Ethan wasn't even defending himself. "Do you have anything to say in your defense?" asked another board member. Ethan was quiet for a moment. "I do. A woman and her baby were dying. I had the skill to save them. I did what any doctor should do." "But you were no longer a practicing doctor at that time," the chairman shot back. "You were suspended." "A piece of paper doesn't change who I am," Ethan said firmly. "I might lose my license, I might lose my job, but I won't lose my conscience." That's when Ava couldn't stay quiet any longer. She stood up from her seat in the back of the room. "Excuse me," she said loudly, making everyone turn to look at her. "And who are you?" the chairman asked, clearly irritated by the interruption. "Ava Martinez, and I want to testify on Dr. Lee's behalf." Ethan turned and saw her, his eyes wide with surprise and something that looked like hope. "Miss Martinez, this hearing does not allow witness testimony." "Well, maybe it should," Ava interrupted, walking to the front of the room with all the military confidence she could summon. "You're judging the best doctor I've ever met without hearing from the people he saved." "Miss, please, Emma Martinez is my sister," Ava went on, ignoring the protests. "She went into premature labor. She and the baby were both in danger. The doctor on duty didn't have enough experience. Ethan Lee risked his career to save them." She turned to look at Ethan, then faced the board again. "You want to take away the license of a man who put human lives above his own safety, a man who works 18-hour days, treats poor patients for free, and never turns down an emergency." "Miss Martinez," the chairman tried to interrupt again, but Ava was on fire. "3 weeks ago, this man flew with me through a dangerous storm to deliver a heart for a transplant. He saved that life too. And now you want to punish him for doing what doctors are supposed to do, save lives." One of the board members leaned forward. "Miss, we understand your gratitude, but rules exist for a reason." "Rules?" Ava laughed bitterly. Let me tell you about rules. I served 10 years in the Air Force. I followed rules my whole life, and I lost my career because I chose to fly a medical emergency mission while technically suspended. She motioned toward Ethan. This man lost everything too, his inheritance, his position in the family company, and now you want to take away his medical license. Why? Because he saves lives? The room was completely silent. Ava took a deep breath and continued, her voice softer now. Ethan Lee is the son of billionaires. He could be lying on a beach somewhere, spending money. Instead, he chose to work as a regular doctor, hiding his wealth so people would love him for who he is, not for what he has. She looked directly at the board chairman. How many doctors do you know who give up billions to work in public hospitals? How many risk everything to save strangers? That's not the point, the chairman began. That is exactly the point, Ava burst out. You're punishing a man for being too much of a doctor, for caring too much, for putting the medical oath above red tape. She turned to Ethan, who was watching her with a mix of admiration, love, and total shock. Ethan Lee taught me that being brave doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means doing the right thing even when you are. He was afraid of losing his license, but he operated anyway because 2 lives depended on him. Ava turned to the board one last time. If you revoke his license, you'll be sending a terrible message to every doctor out there that following rules matters more than saving lives, that protecting your career is more important than protecting your patients. She paused, letting the words sink in. Emma Martinez is alive today. My nephew, Oliver Martinez Lee, is alive today because of this man. If that doesn't matter to you, then maybe you're the ones who don't deserve to be doctors. The silence that followed was overwhelming. Ava could hear her own heartbeat. She had said everything she felt, and now all she could do was wait. Finally, the chairman of the board spoke. Miss Martinez, thank you for your heartfelt statement. Dr. Lee, would you like to add anything? Ethan stood up slowly. Yes, I would. He looked directly at Ava. For years, I tried to be the perfect son, the perfect doctor, the perfect person. It never worked because I was trying to please everyone but myself. He turned to face the board. When I operated on Emma Martinez, I wasn't thinking about my license. I wasn't thinking about my career. I was thinking about a young mother and a baby who needed help. And if you're asking me if I'd do it again, he paused. I would, every time. Ethan looked back at Ava. Ava taught me that some things are more important than being safe, that some battles are worth fighting, even if you lose everything. It took a deep breath. If you revoke my license, I'll accept it. But I'll still find other ways to help people. Because being a doctor isn't about having a certificate on the wall, it's about having compassion in your heart. The chairman whispered with the other board members for several tense minutes. At last, he stood. Dr. Lee, this board acknowledges that you violated protocols. However, we also recognize that your actions saved 2 lives. Ava held her breath. Therefore, we are issuing an official reprimand and placing you under 6 months of direct supervision, during which you will work under the oversight of a senior physician. Your license remains valid. Ava felt her legs go weak with relief. Ethan had won. However, the chairman continued. You are permanently banned from working at any hospital within the Lee Medical Group network. Ethan nodded. I understand. Thank you. When the hearing ended, Ava and Ethan met in the hallway. For a moment, neither of them said a word. You came, Ethan finally said. Of course I did. Why? Ava smiled, feeling tears in her eyes. Because you taught me that some people are worth fighting for. Ethan stepped closer to her. Ava, Ethan, I'm sorry for running away, for giving up on us. For he gently placed a finger on her lips. You didn't run. You were scared. There's a difference. And now, Ethan smiled that shy smile she had come to love. Now you're here, fighting for me. Just like I always knew you would once you were ready. Ava moved closer to him. Ethan Lee, I love you. I love your courage, your kindness, your stubbornness, and always doing what's right. Ava Martinez, he whispered, will you marry me? The question caught her completely off guard. What? Marry me. Today, tomorrow, whenever you're ready. Just marry me." Ava looked at him, the man who had given up everything for her, who had risked his career to save her family, who loved her with a kind of passion that scared and moved her at the same time. "Yes," she said, pulling him into a kiss right there in the hallway of the Massachusetts Medical Association. "Yes, I'll marry you." A few months later, Boston General Hospital looked completely different. Ava walked through the halls she now knew like the back of her hand, noticing all the changes Ethan had made since becoming the medical director of the new pediatric emergency wing. "Doctor, Lee is in room 3, said Nurse Claire with a smile. In recent months, the whole team had grown used to Ava's daily visits. Ava found Ethan finishing an exam on a 5-year-old girl who had broken her arm. He was wearing a regular lab coat now, by choice, not because he had to hide. "Well, little warrior," Ethan told the girl, "you'll be just fine in 6 weeks, but no more climbing trees until then, okay?" The girl giggled. "Okay, doctor." Ethan. Ava watched the scene with her heart full. Ethan had found his place, working at a public hospital, earning a normal salary, but saving lives every day with a smile on his face. "Hey, fiancé," Ethan said when he saw her at the door. "Hey, future husband," she replied, still getting used to the words. They left the hospital hand in hand. Ethan had bought a small but cozy apartment just 2 blocks from the hospital. Ava had found a job as a flight instructor at a civil aviation school. It wasn't the Air Force, but she discovered she loved teaching young pilots to fall in love with the sky as much as she had. "How was the rehearsal?" Ethan asked as they walked. "Your mom and my dad almost argued over the flower colors." Ava laughed. But Emma managed to calm them down. Over the past few months, their families had learned to get along. Mrs. Lee had finally visited Ethan at the hospital and saw with her own eyes how happy he was. It would still take time for her to fully accept his choices, but she was trying. Colonel Martinez had been harder to win over, but when he met Ethan and saw how he treated Ava with respect, admiration, and real love, he started to accept that maybe his daughter had found a man worthy of her. "And Lucas?" Ethan asked. "How's he handling being a double godfather?" Ava smiled. Lucas had changed a lot over the past few months. The arrival of his son had made him mature in a big way. He and Emma had gotten married in a small ceremony at the hospital, with 1-month-old Oliver in his mother's arms. Now Lucas worked at a marketing firm, had a steady job, and had proven to be a dedicated, loving father. "He's nervous but happy," Ava said. "He said it's the first time he's doing something important without messing it up." They arrived at the apartment and found Emma in the kitchen, trying to calm Oliver, who was crying in Lucas's arms. "He won't stop crying," Lucas said, looking desperate. "I've tried everything." Ethan stepped over and quickly checked the baby. "It's colic. That's normal at his age." He showed Lucas how to gently massage the baby's belly to ease the discomfort. Ava watched the 2 brothers working together, Ethan teaching patiently, Lucas learning with care. They'd finally found balance, supporting each other instead of competing. "Ava," Emma said, "I need to show you something." She led Ava to the bedroom and opened a large box. Inside was the most beautiful wedding dress Ava had ever seen. Simple, elegant, perfect. "Emma, it's stunning, but it must have cost a fortune." "Actually," said a voice behind them, "it was a gift." Ava turned around and saw Mrs. Lee at the door, holding a shopping bag. "Mrs. Lee, I didn't know you were here." Ethan's mother entered the room with her usual grace, but there was a softness on her face that hadn't been there before. "Ava, dear, may I speak with you?" They sat in the living room, while the men continued tending to the baby in the kitchen. "Ava," Mrs. Lee began, "I owe you an apology." "An apology? For what?" "For judging you before I knew you, for trying to keep you and Ethan apart." Mrs. Lee sighed. "I spent so much time worrying about what was proper for my son that I nearly made him lose the best thing that ever happened to him." Ava felt her eyes fill with tears. Mrs. Lee, I went to the hospital last week. I saw Ethan working, saw how the patients love him, how the staff respects him. I saw the happiness in his face. She took Ava's hands. "He's never been as happy as he is with you. I'm happy with him too. I know, and that's why I want to give you something." Mrs. Lee opened the bag and pulled out a small blue velvet box. Inside was a vintage engagement ring with a diamond surrounded by tiny sapphires. This ring belonged to my grandmother, then my mother, then to me. It's always been a Lee family tradition to pass it on to the daughter-in-law. She smiled. Ethan doesn't know, but I want you to wear it tomorrow. Ava looked at the ring, then at Mrs. Lee. I don't know what to say. Just promise me you'll take care of my son and let him take care of you too. I promise. The next day, the wedding day, St. Paul's Church in downtown Boston was simply decorated, but full of love. White and blue flowers filled the altar, and the families were seated together, Lees and Martinez's side by side, finally united. Ava stood in the bride's room, looking at herself in the mirror. The dress fit perfectly. The Lee family ring sparkled on her finger. And Emma had styled her hair beautifully. You look radiant, Emma said, holding Oliver, who wore a tiny tuxedo. I'm nervous, Ava admitted. Why? What if he changes his mind? What if he realizes he could have someone better? Emma laughed. Ava, you saved his career, stood by him when everyone else turned their backs, and you love him exactly as he is. If anyone should be worried right now, it's him. A knock at the door interrupted them. It was Colonel Martinez, sharp in his full military dress uniform. Sweetheart, he said, and Ava saw emotion in his eyes. It's time. They walked to the entrance of the church. The music began, and Ava saw Ethan at the altar, looking handsome in a simple tuxedo with Lucas by his side as the best man. When Ethan saw her walking toward him, his face lit up with the most beautiful smile in the world. Ava felt all her doubts disappear. Colonel Martinez gave Ava to Ethan with a firm handshake and a whisper, "Take care of my girl." "With my life," Ethan replied. The ceremony was simple but moving. When it was time for the vows, Ethan spoke first. "Ava, you came into my office and my life like a hurricane. You taught me that being vulnerable isn't weakness, it's courage. I promise to love you, support you, and fly by your side for the rest of my life." Ava felt the tears fall freely. "Ethan, you showed me that being strong doesn't mean facing everything alone. You are my safe place, my courage, my heart. I promise to love you through every storm and under every blue sky. I now pronounce you husband and wife," the priest said. "You may kiss the bride." The kiss was gentle, full of promises and love. The church burst into applause, and Ava heard military planes fly overhead, a surprise her father had arranged. At the reception, held in the hospital garden where Ethan worked, the two families blended together naturally. Mrs. Lee and Colonel Martinez even danced together, competing over who had organized their part of the party better. "How do you feel, Mrs. Lee?" Ethan asked Ava during their first dance. "Like I'm flying," she said, "but this time with my feet on the ground." "And how do you feel about being married to a poor doctor?" Ava laughed. "I take a poor doctor who saves lives over a billionaire who doesn't know who he is any day." Ethan spun her on the makeshift dance floor. "Ava Lee, I love you." "Ethan Lee, I love you too." When the party was winding down, Ava and Ethan found themselves alone in the small hospital garden. The sky was full of stars, and the city of Boston sparkled around them. "No regrets?" Ethan asked. "Not one," Ava replied. "And you?" "Just one." Ava looked at him, concerned. "What is it?" Ethan grinned playfully. "That it took me so long to walk into a medical office." Ava laughed and kissed him under the stars. "Well, Dr. Lee, now you have the rest of your life to make up for lost time." "That's exactly what I plan to do, Captain Lee." And as they kissed, surrounded by the love of their families and the promise of all the tomorrows to come, Ava knew she had found her most important mission, to love and be loved by Ethan Lee, the man who had changed her life forever.